Tonight is Grow Your Ayurvedic Business. This is week 6, Designing Content. I'm Jacob Griscom, and this is an Everyday Ayurveda production. So as always, let's start with our opening preparation and our meditation. Come into a place of stillness. Create an area that's quiet and focused. Turn off any of the big distractors, cell phone, text messaging, email, instant messaging on the computer. Arrive in the present moment. The default tendency, of course, is to identify with the constant flow of thoughts, images, symbols in the mind. The major obstruction to experience of the self. So in this moment, come into a comfortable seated position. Calm your breath and anchor your identity in the self. You can get there, of course, first by following the breath, especially the exhalation to relax into the energy field of your body, to open your body, to feel your connection with the broader group, with the Ayurvedic community, in essence with all sentient beings, the common field of self there. Identify with that space as it's the portal, the doorway to presence, to stillness, to true nature. If the mind needs something to have an attention on, if it continues to go into thoughts, go ahead and let it just focus on the breath. So hum, enjoy the pauses of peace and stillness in between, and as much as possible rest purely in silence, stillness, peace, as the observer, the witness. Om Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Nah Prachodaya. Om. Namaste. Again, we have great amount of content here tonight around designing content. Of course, we always want to start with, and we'll go into why we always start with the why here tonight. This will be part of our content learning process, but why build content? So here's 3 reasons why. 1, valuable free content helps you build your email leads list. By giving people a reason to give you their email address so that you can keep in touch. All right? Basically, think of this. The bigger your list, the bigger your reach to prospective clients, which means the more people that you can have to take you up on your offers to come to your talks, teleconferences, webinars, to sign up for free introductory sessions with you and ultimately become clients. So there are two pieces here, which is how many people you have on your list, and then how well you develop and connect and relate with that list. Again, remember these concepts of those span and depth. But essentially, with whatever effectiveness you have with your list, the bigger your list is, the more clients you will have. All right? So simple connection. Reason number two, content starts and continues a conversation. It builds a relationship with prospective clients so that they're more likely to eventually become a client. So what this means is that somebody may hear about you, connect with you one time, and there might be a little bit of an interest there, something there. But unless there's a way that they can continually connect with you and you're actually in a conversation, a dialogue, they're reminded of you, very, very few people are on their very first time having a connection with you going to become a client. They need to typically have, the average, they say, is 7 points of contacts before somebody makes a, quote-unquote, a buying decision, right? A buying decision, which may be, actually becoming a client, but it may just be whatever the next step is with you, coming to a talk, going from a talk to signing up to become a client after that. So reason number three, why build content? Content helps you organize and systematize your philosophy and your approach. When you organize and systematize your philosophy and approach, that builds value and it builds confidence for your clients. Value because it seems like it goes from just being information to there's an actual system here, right? It's part of your brand. And something that has a name and has a system behind it inherently just has more perceived value. And also conveys, also helps to generate more confidence for your clients. They see that you have a system, as you have an organized philosophy and approach, they will trust more in their ability to get results with you, right? So instead of it being kind of this ethereal sort of, here's how we're kind of going to work with you, here's the exact system that we use to help move you towards your goals. It conveys much more value and builds confidence much more quickly with your prospective clients. This, if you can see this well, this is an image from Grow Your Ayurvedic Business. Just wanted to include this here again to give you a picture of how these pieces are fitting together. So we have what we've worked on so far, which is clarifying and researching your target market, your niche, right? And what we're going to be getting into after this is the marketing, the advertising, the networking, the referrals that help people bring, help bring prospective clients into your funnel. Okay, and so the next piece that we're going to do that connects with that, with really your system and what this content is going to fit into, is building your list. Right? So you have your niche market. Once you know them, you know where to market, where to advertise, where to network, who to reach out to for referrals. In that comes to your system. The very first thing that you want those prospective clients to do is join your list. And then you've got your content here, right? So they're going to join your list because they're going to get some free content from you. And then from that free content, the next step is for them to get with some live event, some connection with you, and that could be a free talk or a free teleconference or webinar. So we'll talk about that here tonight. What that's going to lead to, farther down the funnel here, so again, each time you go deeper, there's less span. You're not going to have as many clients as you do people on your list, nor will you have as many people on your list as there are potential prospective clients out here in this vast space above the funnel. Ultimately, you're trying to move, your system is moving people towards an introductory session with you, an opportunity for you to build value and uncover costs and enroll them in a program of care with you. And that's what we're, of course, going to be talking about next week. So ultimately, you end up with some clients, lots of clients. And those are clients in your client program. So that's step 2. right? Getting clear about what those client programs actually look like. So that's how all these pieces, all these steps fit together within your overall funnel system. And, just having clients, of course, it doesn't stop on that end. What that becomes after that is opportunities for group programs, for partnerships, for community enrichment, really taking on a role of leadership and influencing the collective to benefit essentially everyone, but especially your target market. So I wanted to give you that image, and then we'll hop into the content here in our agenda for tonight. So we want to cover three things with you tonight, three main areas. The first is the types of content you can build and the tools you can use to create that content and to deliver it. Right, so the types of content you can build and the tools you can use to create and deliver it. Secondly, we're going to cover how to structure your content so that it's communicated completely and it's understood. So we're going to teach you how to structure your content, basically use templates and make sure that you're using certain styles that speak to the different ways that people learn so that you'll maximize your chances of being understood and having a complete communication. Of course, the reason that you want to do that is that when you're completely understood, people are more likely to take action, and the content is more valuable to them. The third thing we want to cover tonight is naming your content and your concepts to increase their value and to build your brand. This is one of these areas that's kind of interesting. It's a simple enough idea, naming your content and your concepts. But the amount of leverage that you can get out of it, the way that it can really grip someone in the mind is very important. So, a couple of names, obviously, that I have is Grow Your Ayurvedic Business, right? It's a system, Grow Your Ayurvedic Business System. It's a 5-step system. So if I said, here are just some things that you can do to grow your business, that's less powerful than here's a 5-step Grow Your Ayurvedic Business System. The other name that I have around one of my concepts is, of course, Integral Ayurveda, which we covered last week. And again, instead of just saying, here are some of the things that you should address with your clients, I say this is the Integral Ayurveda platform that will allow you to build a complete system, a complete program of care, and make sure that you're covering everything you need to for your clients to get long-term sustainable results. So we'll talk about how to do some powerful names, and you'll notice that immediately if you can sort of build your identity, your brand around those content and those concept names, it will also increase your confidence and your perceived value in what you're offering. So it works on the practitioner as well. All right, so agenda item number 1 here, types of free or paid content. There's a lot. There's a lot. You can do a report, which would basically be like a free report, usually a PDF, right, which is just an Adobe file, a PDF. You can do an e-course or an e-book, which an e-book is basically expanded PDF, like Grow Your Ayurvedic Business is. And then an e-course is a series, typically, of email modules that would be sent with an auto response. We'll drill down into each of these. You can create an audio recording or a CD. So that would be like an MP3 or a WAV file or a CD. You can create a video file or a DVD. You can create, obviously, email tips and questions and answers. These are, you want to think of your emails basically as little pieces of content that you send to your list, your prospective clients, and your clients. Community talks or classes are forms of free or paid content, as well as teleconferences and webinars. So let's go ahead and look at each of these and show you some of the tools that you can use and kind of the progression, how these often fit together. Oh, and first let's answer the question, free or paid. What's sort of the benefit of free and what's the benefit of paid content? Well, for free content, obviously free content spreads further, faster. You've got a smaller barrier to entry. You don't need, anybody who's at all interested can, plunk in their name and email address and get free content. So free content spreads further, faster, and I definitely recommend that you use free content for your initial opt-in offer. I typically like to recommend that you do free content basically all the way up until somebody becomes a prospective client. But you'll be able to make some decisions around your situation there and what your goals and needs are. So free content spreads further, faster, which means that it helps you build your list faster. Again, the key thing we're looking for at this level. It also builds reciprocity. When people get free things from you that they get a lot of value from, they start to feel like, wow, I've gotten a lot of actually really great value from you. And you want to make sure that your content does, in fact, deliver great value. But when they feel that, when they feel like, wow, I'm actually getting really good stuff from this person, they start to feel like I should actually maybe give them something back. Certainly, if they're looking for a practitioner that's focused around their needs, you're going to be the first one on their mind, the first one that they want to reach out to and connect with. So free content spreads further, faster, it builds your list, it builds reciprocity. Paid content, a few benefits here. The first is that it can pre-qualify prospective clients, which basically means, well, if they've plunked down at least some financial investment, you know that these are more serious prospective clients than others. So you may have noticed, one way that I've done this is to to sell an ebook that again is a ton of value, but it's $19.97, and a portion of the people on my list obviously go on to get an ebook, and that lets me know who are sort of the warmest people on the list. And those are the ones that I definitely want to have a conversation with, right? And we want to take the next step. So it's important to pre-qualify prospective clients when your direct time is involved. So if you're going to be spending an hour phone call or 30 minutes or any amount of your direct time with someone, having paid content as sort of a pre-qualifier to get to you is sometimes really great. Especially, when you get to a point where you really have as many clients as you'd like, especially one-on-one clients. That might be a great time. That's often a great time to decide what levels of pre-qualification you want to give before your immediate time is taken up, because your immediate one-on-one time, of course, is limited. The other thing with paid is that it's important, if the content is designed as a complete solution. So if you're providing really a full program, if you're providing something that's more than just a little chunk of information, again, it may be very valuable information, but if it's really a complete solution that has really everything this person needs other than your direct support to help them implement it, that's often a good point to put an actual paid value on it. So if if you've gone as far as doing an ebook, that can be something you might consider really putting a price on, because it's a lot of content there. Now, there are plenty of people that give away free ebooks as well, but here's the third value of paid. When somebody pays for something, even if it's $20 that they pay for something, it adds value to what they've just gotten. So because it adds value, it also adds follow-through. They will value it more. They are more likely to read an ebook that they pay $20 for versus one that they get free. And of course, the other value to paid is that paid is revenue for your business. Right? So it's often a way, if you have a small entry level, it's a way to offset some of your advertising costs. And that's usually as much as it's going to be in terms of smaller bits of content that don't have some connection with you or that aren't really well-developed, complete programs. So they do add value, they add follow-through, and they add a little bit of revenue for your business. So let's look at each of these. First, a report. This is basically like an article, but you want to structure it as a report to basically say, this is more valuable than an article. A report kind of conveys that it's got more value than an article because it's a really specific how-to. And it's usually a starting place for you to begin to organize your thoughts. So once you've gotten your behavioral theory of change, kind of that map down, this is a great way to take what you've learned there and just put words around it. And again, use the structure that we're going to be talking about tonight to create your first free report. And it may be, maybe anywhere from just 2 or 3 pages to 12 or 15 or 20 pages. So the length really isn't that important, but the content is. You want to capture your best ideas from your behavioral theory of change, the essence of your thoughts, the essence of your philosophy. And you can structure a report with, some compelling headlines. You can say, the biggest mistake that these prospective clients make when they're trying to get whatever result or trying to overcome whatever challenge. Or you can say here are 3 mistakes that people often make. When people are looking for a solution, they want to make sure that they're, it's insightful, obviously, to figure out, well, if I'm looking for a solution, I have this challenge, what is the biggest mistake that I make, or what are the three things that I'm doing that I may not even know that I'm doing? So those are both pretty compelling and good ways to structure a title around a report. The other one is just a classic. This is great for any headline. Is a how-to format. Basically, how to get this result, or how to overcome this challenge, or how to do both. How to get this result and overcome this challenge. So you basically look at your what you do statement, which is a form of that. I help this prospective client get this, get or achieve this result or overcome this challenge. You can just modify that into a how-to headline. So what you want to do is write your report, and you can use just any normal word processing software, Microsoft Word, whatever you have on your computer. And then you can turn it into a PDF, so that it's a file that really can't be modified. It's a file that comes through really clear. It's easier to send. It's easier to download than Word documents or other word processing files. So PDF is kind of the industry standard for sending files, information files like this. And in the business resources section, I have a tool for you. I'll be adding it in there. A company called Nitro PDF. You can check that out. They have a free tool called Primo PDF that you can basically just download, and it will allow you to turn any word processing document directly into a PDF and save it that way. Again, the next thing would be an e-course or an e-book, an expanded idea here. You can expand your report content into a series of chapters or modules and create an e-book. So essentially what you're doing is just fleshing out all of the concepts you would have in your report, and you're really expanding on them, giving a lot more tools. You're filling in. Your free report is basically a skeleton outline of your most important concepts. And you would just look at, well, if I were to really kind of detail these out, how would I break each of these into chapters? And that's the way that you could write an ebook or a book if that was of interest to you. I like ebooks so much, though, because they're easy to modify. You don't have any of the challenges of publishing and cost associated with that. There's no shipping and handling. And again, anytime that you want to sort of create a new version of it, it's as easy as going in, making a change, and creating a new version. It's also great because people can print pages. They can download it instantly. They don't have to wait for it in the mail, anything else like that. As an e-course, subscribers would receive the modules via email over time. So again, you can expand your report, or you can just break your report up into a series of weeks, 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever seems like a fit for you. And then it's a free e-course. So each week subscribers would get a portion of the content that would give them some valuable insights on overcoming the challenges that they're facing and getting the results that they want. So again, just an expanded version there. It's really nice because it, again, keeps you in your prospective client's awareness. You've got this automated process in place where they subscribe once, and then they already have, again, those 7 points of contact are built in with that subscription. So they're more likely to take action, and they've known to expect a regular weekly email from you. The way to do this is to upload each of your modules into basically an email that you would build ahead of time. And you set that up as an auto-response series in your list management solution to fire once a week. So as soon as they would subscribe, they would get the first module, and they would say, look out for the next module next week. We're going to be covering this, and then they would get that next week and go through the whole course. And throughout each module, you can also build in mentions about talks or teleconferences that you have coming up, different ways for them to take that next action and have lots of opportunities to do so, and again, tell them why. So again, see the business resources section there for our recommendations around list management solutions that have, the reason that we recommend them is they're simple, they're easy to use, they're easy to set up, they're low cost, and they have the best deliverability in the industry, which is important. Deliverability means that people are actually seeing your email in their inbox. If you use a list management solution that has lower deliverability, if you have 100 people on your list and only 50 of them are actually getting your emails, well, it's really like you only have a list that's only got 50 people on it. But if you've got a 90% deliverability, well, then you've got 90 people on your list in real numbers. The next one is an audio recording or a CD. And the great value here is that you'll notice is the more you give engagement, the more you give additional levels of interaction, the higher the response rate is. So with an audio recording or a CD, people experience more of you by hearing your voice, and so there's a higher perceived value and use. A great majority of people will prefer to listen to something over trying to read it all on their computer screen. And you can create an audio recording using your conference calling account, free conference calling account, or any conference calling account you have. Just basically start a free conference and then hit the record button and begin speaking. And you can have a script. You can be reading. You can do whatever you need to, and then you can have that recording in your files there on your free account and embed that in a web page. That's typically the easiest way to do it, is embed it in a web page and then send people the link to that web page so they can listen to the recording. So again, see your business resources section to get your free conference calling account, or you can get a paid account if you're wanting to do some fancier stuff that we'll talk about in teleconferencing. So you can also use a recorded teleconference or an interview format. If you've been interviewed by somebody else, maybe on the radio, or you just set it. You can even set up an interview. You could even set up an interview with somebody in your mastermind group and say, hey, will you ask me these questions, and let's do this as an actual interview. And then you can respond to the questions, again, going through a format. And that, again, is kind of fun to listen to because it's interactive rather than just listening to one person's voice the whole time. So if you've already recorded a teleconference, maybe you had people on, it was live, you had questions and answers, that again is valuable too. And you can use those recordings as an audio recording and even turn it into a CD. Here's, again, the difference. An audio file is available instantly, and it requires no cost or labor from you. As soon as it's recorded, you just upload it to your website, and you're good to go. A CD has to be shipped, and a CD has associated costs with it because it's a physical item. The value, though, of a CD is that it may have, especially to some audiences, more perceived value because it is a physical product. And if you're lucky and people like it, they may hang on to it, they may pass it on to others. But again, an audio file is something that people can pass on to others as well. So if you're interested in that, there's a resource in the business resources section there that will automate that process for you. You basically give them the file, and you can set it up with a shopping cart. That's often, unless you want to give it free, CD is often something you might charge a little bit for, or just at least cover shipping and handling, and you can integrate that with a shopping cart or with PayPal. So, of course, the next level here would be a video or a DVD, and now people see you, or they see the content that you're providing, like a presentation, and they get to hear you. So that adds the most perceived value and the greatest use. I just was looking at some numbers here, and video gets 4 to 7 times the engagement and response rate as static text. All right, so just get what that means for you. That means if you have a static text website with even a great opt-in offer, if that same opt-in offer is given with video, you have a 4 to 7 times increase in engagement, meaning people actually watching it all the way through and then taking action. So video is very powerful, and you'll see that's really the direction that internet marketing is going. We've got the bandwidth for it, and people want to use it. So video is great. So if it's a video of you, you need equipment. You need at least a video camera, and a little flip video camera is easy enough to do that. If you're not familiar with these, they're just the size of a digital camera, and it has a USB that plugs directly into your computer. So once you have a video file, you can do that. And I've used that for pretty much all of my videos to date. Now, optional, if you want to make the video look good and professional, you want to have lights at the very minimum, a couple of lights, and if you were interested in that, again, we'll give details on the lights that you'd need, but basically two flood lamps are typically the minimum, or a flood lamp and a reflector to give you good lighting. Otherwise, it just comes out with shadows and tends to look, well, not professional. And if you want to get fancier, you can have a plug-in microphone, which will improve your audio quality. And if you're going to be doing longer scripted things and you want to have a really consistent flow to your voice, then there are little teleprompters that you can put over your flip cam and project that from your screen and actually read your script. So again, that makes life a bit easier if it's a video of you. So easier than that for most people is to do just a video presentation, which would be to use presentation software, PowerPoint or Keynote, which are the PC and Macintosh versions of these things. And I'm on a PC right now sharing this as a PowerPoint presentation. And then just a microphone that you can plug into your computer. And you create a video file that records your voice with the presentation. So I've got a few tools for you to do that in the business resources section. Camtasia, ScreenFlow, these are the main tools we'd recommend for that. So again, the difference is that you're not looking at an actual live person at that point. You're watching a presentation, and you're hearing the person's voice at the same time, but that combination still offers a lot of engagement and is a really effective medium for doing these offers or providing content. And you can also use a recorded webinar or a live class. So a recorded webinar, just obviously as we're doing here right now, recording this webinar. And then each of these webinars is basically its own piece of content afterwards. You can also do that if you were to do a live class. You could hire somebody, and I've done this in the past as well. If you look at Get Ayurvedic clients, we had my camera guy come in and film that, and then you can turn your live class into a product or into content. Typically, you break it up into a series of video modules and kind of title them by the topic that you're speaking about in each point. So a video file is available instantly, and it requires no labor from you. All right? These are the advantages. Somebody can watch it instantly, and there's no labor from you. There's no shipping. There's no handling. There's a minimum cost depending on where it's hosted. You need your video to live somewhere. And I've provided, again, some options for you in the business resources section. If it's free, then YouTube is a great option for that. Vimeo is a fine option for that. And then if it's something that you're wanting to protect, Vimeo, you can use premium versions of video hosting services, or you can use Amazon's S3. And again, I've provided links to all of those for you. If you have a DVD, then just like with a CD, it has to be shipped. It has associated costs. But again, it may have more perceived value as an actual physical product. If it's something people can plug in and watch, something they can pass along. So you just have to kind of gauge that for your market. Certainly, if it's something that your market is just saying they want, then give it to them. But it does, certainly as a paid product, DVDs often have a lot of associated value with them. And the same service that does the automated CD production and shipping and handling, everything, it does it for DVDs as well. So you can check that out if that's something that you decide to do. So again, think of your email broadcast that you send to your list as a form of content as well, chunks of content here to follow the same format that we'll be getting into. The thing I want to encourage you against, the standard out there is the e-newsletter. And the reason I don't recommend an e-newsletter is an e-newsletter is basically a lot of different messages clumped together at once. With HTML, most people will not see the HTML right away. They have to click an additional button to download and view any pictures that you have associated with it. And again, it's a whole bunch of messages stuck together. So the likelihood of people taking action on any one particular message goes down. So what I recommend instead is to send standalone emails with one focused message at a time. That's going to get you your highest response rate. And obviously, if you're putting the work of putting content out there, your goal is to have it to be read and to have somebody take some action from it. So you combine the content with a call to action that's connected to it. And again, you want to make sure that at least every, say, 4 out of 5 emails that you send is just good, free content, not a hard sell, not a pitch, not just an offer, but something that's just is valuable content for your audience, right? That's continuing to connect in, share a story, a relevant example, something that's going to be pertinent for them, tips, questions, and answers. And I recommend to keep in touch regularly. Studies show that keeping in touch at least once a week keeps your list the warmest, the most connected to you, the most engaged. Those who the content is not relevant for will opt out, and that's okay. But the ones that are there, they want to hear from you. And that's a good frequency to stay in touch, around once a week. Valuable content, and again, excuse me, some of that can be automated. So if you do, like the ECourse approach, you might have an 8-week series there, and those weekly series you're covered for those 8 weeks, which is a great period of time for them to be hearing from you. If they don't take some action in those first 8 weeks, then you can kind of drip feed out there. You can include them in your big broadcast that you send to your entire list, and they may immediately take action. But your hottest prospective clients will usually take action in those first 8 weeks and points of contact there. One note, you'll notice that in my emails I use narrow formatting and regular spacing. And the reason I do that, the reason that you'll see that, is to increase readability. When an email kind of stretches all the way across the page in these long lines, and if there aren't gaps between, basically you don't want to go more than 2 or 3 sentences without creating a space. So use narrow formatting and use spacing. It just makes it much more easy to read. A lot of people, if they see just one big clump of information there, or see it across the page, you're going to lose a lot of people. People are just going to delete it and say that's too hard to read. They're going to give up. So that that one little tip there can go a long ways for you. And even do it when you're sharing an email with anyone, really. It's a nice thing to do to people. Send them bite-sized bits rather than making them kind of stretch their eyes through everything. And again, what to send. You want to send relevant tips. You want to send common questions and answers to things relevant to your market and the challenges and concerns they face. You can ask even for people to submit their questions. And you can either do kind of a grab bag, or you can answer one question. So if your niche was weight loss, you could say, send me your biggest question about weight loss, and you can use that as a valuable piece of content. People like reading that one. If one person has a question, you can guarantee that that question exists out there elsewhere. It's also a great way, again, for you to continue to tap in, feel the pulse of your market, make sure that your content, your programs, and everything are speaking to and addressing what's going on in people's minds and their feelings. What else to send? Of course, send invitations to your presentations, invitations to your free talks, your teleconferences, your webinars. And from time to time, you can send timely free session offers. You always want to give a reason that you're doing it, though, so that you maintain some sense of the value that has there. And basically, that's a way that you can get a flood of new prospective clients into your inbox. And whenever you do that, of course, you'll want to use your scheduling link, so that you don't have endless sort of back and forth about what time works for you, what time works for you. You can just give them a link, and they can pick a time in your calendar that you've set that's open for that. And again, always offer more than you sell. Anything that you sell, anything that you're sort of wanting people to take action around, should be connected to getting them a result. And you want to give away a lot of free stuff. So there's always good value, that everybody has a reason to be on your list, that they're not just constantly getting teasers where they have to buy something to get information. So stay connected, really make it come from a place of service, and really thinking about your audience and what's going to help them. And that strategy will consistently turn into business and clients for you and goodwill. Don't worry about giving away your best information. Start there. Because again, your value is not about just your information. Your real value is in helping people implement changes into their lives so they actually get long-term sustainable results. Of course, the big one here, the content is your community talk or your class. And this is so important because this is a chance for your local prospective clients to meet you and meet each other in person. There's more energy. There's always more perceived value around a live event. This is your warmest possible market. The people that show up for your live events are the ones that are, again, the hottest of the hot. They're the ones that are closest to scheduling their first session with you. Be it a free introductory session or an initial consultation, however you decide to do that. I recommend, and we'll be going over doing the free introductory session, and I'll show you why I feel that's so important next week. But again, this is your warmest possible market, so these are your big events. And you want to give a value to the presentation. This is one thing that I find is really helpful. State the value of the presentation, say $197 or $97 or something. Give some value to it. And then you can offer it to subscribers, right, with a full scholarship. So it's an additional value. And this is a way, again, to help you build your list. So another part of your opt-in offer, and part of the value and part of the reason for people to give you their name and their email address, is that they also get basically a free full scholarship to your next talk or teleconference or webinar. Have people register for the class so that you know what to expect and you can send reminders. And if you use the tool that I suggested in there in the business resources section, you can actually set it up as an event where people can register for free. There's a tool for that called Eventbrite. And that will automatically send them reminders. And you can select that, so it will send them a reminder, say the day before and the day of, and you can set it up so that it sends them reminders, and you can send them reminders manually to say, hey, one more thing you should know about the class, or any last-minute communications you want to know, just with the people who are planning on attending and registering. And of course, the other big benefit here is that you know what to expect. You know that you've got people coming and that are there. The other thing I find is that when somebody registers for something, they're in their mind now more committed to going. If it's something that's just kind of out there, like, come at this day and time if you can make it sort of thing, then people are less likely to put it on their calendar to really anchor it. These tools also have the additional benefit of having links where people can add it to their calendar automatically, so it can send them a reminder. They've got links so that they can tweet it if they have a Twitter account. They can post it on their Facebook. They can like it. So just a lot of ways to get some social media spread out of it as well. And again, if you do a video recording of the class, then you can create a product from it. The teleconference is basically the same strategy as the community talk, but it's less time and it's less cost to set it up, and it also allows a bigger reach so that no one has to travel. So again, if your practice includes a virtual element, or you're mainly virtually focused, meaning that you work with clients over the phone, over the internet, Skype, then you'll probably be doing a lot of teleconferences. But even if you have a local focus, you might kind of test both of them. You might do some live talks, you might do some teleconferences, and see which one you end up with a bigger show from. Sometimes even if it's a local event, people still need to get in their cars, they need to plan out and get there. So sometimes even for local, teleconference can have that additional value of a bit more reach. Again, use your conference calling account to host the call and have people register to receive the call have people register to receive the call-in details. So what you would do is you would say, here's the teleconference that's coming up, here's what we're going to cover and why it's going to be so great helping you get these results and overcoming these challenges, and here's the action to take. You need to register here. As soon as you register, you'll have an auto response, again, that's set up to send them the call details. Again, look at the business resources section for the conference calling. There's an additional paid service in there that will allow you to do dynamic conference calling, which is kind of fun. This simply means that you can, at the push of a button, put people into breakout groups. So if you're planning on doing anything sort of interactive, having people run through some exercises together or anything, this is the way to do that in a virtual environment. So again, that's a paid service, but if that's something you want to do, it adds a lot of value. People get a lot out of that. It gives them a way to have sort of that group interactive element, very much like a mastermind, within your teleconference. And then you can bring them back and you can call on people to hear from. Again, record the call and create a product out of it. Another product, another piece of content, simply the recorded call. And then you can send that replay link to the people who registered and either missed it, or to the people who just want to listen to it again. And oftentimes you'll get just as, sometimes you can get as many people listening to the replay and then taking action from there, and you can give them, again, the links directly on your web page for how to take action, as you can, people who are there live and listen to it. So that's a great practice to do, is record your calls and then make them available afterwards. And finally, the webinar. the webinar is the same strategy, again, as the teleconference, but the additional benefit, as you all know and are experiencing right now, is that it allows you to share a presentation in addition to the audio content in the teleconference. So to use you want to use a webinar service, and the one I'm using here right now and is on the business resources section is GoToWebinar. You can use that to create, deliver, and record, so that then you can create a product and or send the replay link out to the people who registered and missed it or want to watch it again. So again, exact same strategy. You're going to post it on a web page and then send the link back. You just need to, the one thing to be aware of is that with video content, you need to factor in the time to do any editing that you want to, but especially it just takes a little while to convert a file, to upload it, and then to post it. Now, the last thing I want to cover here are information courses or programs. And my vision for so many of you is that I'd love to work with some of you to create these. Once you really develop your program and you've got a lot of success and you know your market and you're working it well, and you really kind of have a groove together for how you work with people, and maybe have some other content and program pieces that you've put together or group programs, well, now you can basically create the virtual version of this. And an information course or a program combines multiple pieces of content into a series. It's done live or it's recorded, and then packaged as, it can be like a home study course, and or you can include it as part of a monthly membership program. So the great thing about information courses or programs like the one that we're doing right now is that it leverages your time to serve more people and grow your business. And the basic rule is the more that your time is leveraged and the more people you serve, not only does your impact go up, but your income goes up with that. So be holding this as the potential moving forward for what you can do as you grow and develop. Great. So we've gotten through the first part of the agenda, all of the different types of content, how to create them, a lot there. And what we want you to start with at least this week is just seeing if you can get a report together. And again, it can be kind of bare bones, kind of skeleton, but take what you're getting from your behavioral theory of change, that map, and begin to structure it. And here's how. Here's how to structure your content. You can use the 4 learning styles to be understood and to get action. So the 4 learning styles is this great understanding of the different ways that people learn, and you could also think of it a little bit as a type. Different people have kind of different dominant learning styles. Some are more why learners, some are more what, some are more how, some are more what if. So why learners like to understand why they should listen. What's in it for them, what are they going to get out of it. What learners want to know, what is the idea here? What's the big concept? Right? What are we actually learning? What's the theory? What's the philosophy? What are the case studies? What's the proof? How learners want to learn how they actually do it. What's the recipe of action steps? What specifically needs to happen? And then what if learners learn through taking action? Right? What action should they take right now to see results? So we all have all 4 of these learning styles, just like we have all 3 of the doshas, but you probably have 1 or more that are more dominant for you. And oftentimes as people that we often might be teachers or like to share information with people, we can be really strong, really heavy what learners. I know this is the case for me. I always need to remind myself to layer in a lot of why and how and what if. Otherwise, I can just talk endlessly about the idea and forget altogether to remind people about what the idea is actually going to do for them and how to do it and what action to take immediately. So these are the 4 learning styles, and these are the principles that you want to use to, again, to structure your content. So we'll go ahead and look at how to do that here. So you can look at it basically in reverse. You can kind of say, okay, what ultimately is the what if? What is the action that I want someone to take at the end of this piece of content? and work your way all the way back to the starting place, which is the why. So why? You want to start your content and grab your audience's attention with the benefits of the information. So you'll notice at the beginning of each webinar, of each piece of content that you see from me, I always start with having a really clear thought around why this is important to you, what this is going to help you get, what this is going to help you overcome. So whenever you start a piece of content, have that be the first question you ask. What is the reason that they want this? Why should they listen, and how will it help them? So they need to know what they will gain and what they will avoid. What are the benefits they're going to get? What are the costs or challenges that they're going to overcome or avoid? And remember to layer why information throughout your content so that you keep reminding people why to pay attention, why to take action. It's a good idea basically anytime that you introduce a new concept, a new thought, a new piece of what information, to ask why. So anytime you introduce a new piece of what concept, ask why is this valuable? What does this help people get or overcome or do? So here's the basic template for how to start a why. You could say something along the lines of, if you learn and implement what I'm going to share with you, you will get, fill in the blank, these benefits, and avoid, fill in the blank, these challenges. And you also want to cover the negative form of that, right? Because, again, as humans, we're motivated both by desire as well as fear. We're motivated by what we want to move towards as well as what we want to move away from. So the second part to include here that's very important, in fact, actually, in marketing, it's shown in psychology that what people are moving away from is actually twice as motivating as what they're moving towards. For better or for worse, that's the case. So the second piece is to say, if you don't learn and implement this, you won't get these benefits. And you likely will get these challenges. So again, always start with a really clear and direct why. Then there's the what, and this is the part that is going to come from, again, your behavioral theory of change. And your behavioral theory of change in that map, by asking yourself, what are the challenges, what are the impacts, what are the desired results, what are the impacts of those, you're answering the question, why? What do people want, and what do they not want? And then when you fill in the information about, well, what are the actual behaviors that create those challenges, and what are the behaviors that create those desired results, and how and why, well, that's all your what content. That's all the theory and philosophy. That's the science or the physiology behind it. That's any statistics you draw on. Those are case studies. Those are stories. All of that creates your what content. What is it that's actually happening here? So you can structure that with basically saying, here's what's actually happening with this challenge, the impacts it can have on your life and the behaviors that cause it, and here's how and why. And you would also say, and here's some evidence that backs that up, and here's some case studies, here's some stories. You can really fill in that what content and take it from a lot of different angles. And if you have even just one basic core concept, this is a way to, sometimes it's called to serialize your content. You can take it from all those different angles. So if you have one kind of core concept that says, here's the challenge, here's the main behavior that creates it, here's the result that you want, here's the main behavior that's going to contribute to that for you, well, you could create a whole piece of content just around a single case study or a single story about that. Or you could send out some statistics about that. So you've got really endless content that you can create around even one strong core idea, and that's your what information, right? Giving people a lot of different ways to hear things and understand it. And the reason, again, that's so important is that people need to hear things in a lot of different ways before they often get it. So the more different ways that you can reinforce your theory of change, the more convincing it's going to be, the more it's going to land for people. Then the how. In the how section after that, anytime that you basically say, here's the what, then you want to follow up with a how. You want to give the exact series of steps for getting from start to finish and show how they can use each thing that they are learning. So if you talk about some what content, you say, here's the behavior you're doing, and here's how it creates this challenge and the impact that has on you. And here's the new behavior to get this result. You've already spoken about how and why it's going to get them that result. Well, now you want to just drill down and tell them exactly how to do that behavior. So if it were, say, if you talked all about the benefits of Abhyanga and how that's going to be so important for addressing this person's dry skin and nourishing their nervous system, and you talked about how and why that is, well, then you would want to talk about how to actually do Abhyanga. And you would say, well, first you want to get some sesame oil or some coconut oil. You want to warm it up, and you would show them how to warm it up. So you might want to use this particular, detail it out as well as you can. You want to use this warm water, put it in here. Then you're going to do this. You're going to rub it around your wrist. You're going to go up your arms. You're going to use this sort of stroke. And then finally, you're going to take a shower or you're going to take a bath, and you're going to dry yourself off. Right? So give them the exact steps about how to do it. And then finally, give the what if. So imagine if we were in a meeting and we had just talked about our quarterly business goals, and we put a bunch of goals up on the whiteboard, and we talked about the specific steps we're going to take, how we're going to get there. Well, now the meeting's over. So what are we going to do right now? What are we going to do to actually take action and begin to implement what we've just discussed and learned about? So you want to give action items at the end of any of your pieces of content, something that they can do right now so they can learn by doing. They can learn by taking action, and they can actually see and experience the results. This can be an experiential exercise that you walk people through. If you want to put a what if in the middle of some content, right? You would talk about the what and the why, or you talk about the why and the what, and then you would talk about the how, and you could say, well, let's go ahead and try it right now. Do this and experience this. But certainly at the end of your content, you always want to end with a clear and specific call to action. So you would say something like, it's time to take action now. Here's what to do to implement what you just learned. And this is a great time to reinforce the why, right? If you want to get, if you really want to get these results, if you really want to overcome these challenges, then it's time to take action now. And here's what to do to implement what you just learned. So again, if we took that Abhyanga example and you just told them how to do Abhyanga, then the action step right now would be perhaps click on this link right now to buy yourself some coconut oil, and then put in your schedule or your agenda the task. You're going to start your Abhyanga, starting on this day of the week, and you're going to do it in the morning. And look at your schedule so that you've got time to put in there. Actually plug it in right now. So that would be an example action item about what would actually make sure that they were taking those first steps to implementing it, and not just leaving it, again, as a series of good ideas up there on the board. At the end of your talks, or your teleconferences or your webinars that you invite your prospective clients to, the call to action you're going to give people is to sign up for an introductory session. All right? To sign up for an introductory session so that they follow through and implement what they just learned. So a great way to say that is something along the lines of, I want to make sure that you actually implement what you learned here today. And many of you may know that there's a big gap between getting this great information, and some of this may have even been familiar to you before, and actually successfully implementing it into your life. So I may not be able to work with all of you, but I want to work with as many of you as I can on a first-come, first-served basis so that you actually implement these things into your life. And so I'm offering, because you've attended my talk and because you're on my list, a free introductory session where we're going to clarify your vision for your health in this area. We're going to set some key milestone goals or objectives, and we're going to uncover any of the hidden obstacles that could sabotage your success or often get in the way of you actually implementing this, and therefore get in the way of you actually getting these results that you want and continue to cause you these pain or these challenges. right? So your what if at the end of a free talk is to get people to take action and take that next step down into your funnel, that much closer to becoming a client. Now let's talk a little bit about naming here. Again, this is an important piece that you can get a lot of bandwidth out of for the amount of energy it takes to put in. Because naming your content and concepts builds your brand, your personal brand, your business brand. And as I discussed before, to increase the perceived value and the confidence of your prospective clients in actually getting results working with you, especially when the name focuses on results, benefits, or challenges, uses power words, and power words are basically emotional, distinct, results-oriented words versus things that are logical, common, uninteresting, or abstract words. So power words, you'll know power words because you feel them in your body. They just feel stronger in your body. You have to kind of gauge these things with your feelings to say, does this have a visceral impact to me? Can I feel that word? And if not, it's probably something that's kind of logical, common, and interesting, abstract that maybe takes you more into your head. You have to start kind of thinking about what that could mean. So you want to use power words. And you can also use repetitive sounds, which include alliteration and rhyme. So alliteration is when you start, when you use the same letter in a word 2 or 3 times in a row. So mastermind, for example. Mastermind, the 2 M's. And the rhyme, of course, is when you use the same ending of a word. So you would say stress test, or sleep neat. I didn't think these ones out ahead of time. So rhyme, basically, you end the word in the same way. Either one of those help to create a name that really sticks in the mind, and you can look at that. So look at your power words and see if you have a way to incorporate alliteration or rhyme. Then there's rhythm, and rhythm just is using kind of the same number of vowels, of flow to it. And I think everyday Ayurveda has a certain flow to it. You can kind of feel the beat to that, everyday Ayurveda. And it's the reason I like that name. Basically one of the only reasons I really like that name in terms of these sort of valuable points around it is because it has a little bit of a beat to it. So you want to make sure that your name has a flow to it. It uses some rhythm that when you say it, it kind of feels good. And then also, if you can use any powerful unconscious associations. These are things that when you hear it, they have other associations. They connect to other things that are powerful. And Gabby, I'll share that name that you came up with a while back that I liked a lot for this. Gabby came up with the name Menopause Magic. Menopause Magic, which has a pretty decent rhythm to it. Menopause Magic, it's not thrown off. It's not weird in that way. And it uses alliteration, MM, Menopause Magic. It also has the powerful unconscious association of magic. You think of magic, you think of alchemy, transformation. And menopause is often the time that women have a lot of negative associations or connotations around. So magic makes it somehow seem powerfully positive, that there's something good going on there. There's like an actual rich transformation and alchemy that's present. So I really like that as an example of a really powerful unconscious association when I heard that. Then power words, again, it's got that feel as well. It's emotional. And then menopause is really clear. That's the specific challenge or a specific area. There's no guessing around who's that for. Well, it's for women who are approaching or in or experiencing something that has to do with menopause. So I'll be interested to hear what sort of names you come up with, and can share those. We'll look if we have some time next week to get in some questions. You can share some names, and certainly the week after, I want to hear the names that you're all coming up with. Share that with your mastermind group. You know, it's a great place to get people's feedback, that collective mind on ways to create a really powerful name. So here's the homework for this week to implement. Again, when I end with this homework, you are getting the what if, right? So these are the things to do right away, right now, this week, so that you actually get to experience the results of what you've just learned and implement it. You want to write your report, your free report. You want to name it, and then name the key concepts that you discuss as well. So you don't just name you know, the content that you create, but also anytime you come up with a concept, a way to do something, see if you can come up with a name for it instead of just calling it, you know, this random series of instructions. Give it a name. And you can rename even things that we already have in Ayurveda. You could rename Abhyanga. You could call it something else. You can rename the Ayurvedic diet plan. Call it something else. Give it something unique that fits in with your market, with your niche, and that gives it more powerful and uniquely brands it for you. Secondly, outline your community talk, your teleconference, or your webinar, and name that. This will be easy to do. Once you have your behavioral theory of change, you can, again, use the why, what, how, what if format and easily structure your report. And once you have your report, then you've also got the outline for your community talk, and you can just add some exercises and make sure that you have a really strong what if finish call to action, which is to invite people to sign up with for a session with you. Optional, you can go further and you can create an audio or a video recording. You could work with somebody in your mastermind group to interview, set up that up as an interview format. At the very least, though, go for getting a report, naming it, and outlining your community talk or teleconference. That's plenty. That's enough for us to move forward with. But if you have more time, if you really get fired up about it, definitely go further. Create an audio, create a video recording. And then finally, post a comment on the blog to share what you're learning, share your questions, share your insights, reinforce everything, and keep the conversation going. And of course, meet with your mastermind group. As we get deeper and deeper into this content here, you'll want to just keep bringing everything that you're learning and just use your team for everything that they're worth. Make sure that you really keep your time tight and that you divide the time up amongst the people who are there. Don't get lost in just endless discussion. Have a really clear agenda for what you want to bring each time. And that agenda, of course, can be based around where you're at with your homework and implementing. Of course, also share what you've done and what actions you've taken and what results you're getting, as well as where you're having challenges. Next week, as I said, we're going to be discussing enrollment. This, again, is a huge skill. If you know, it's hard to say which of all of these things are important because they all are most important because they all fit together. But I will say that if you get good at enrollment, which you will, you get good at this process, it is exactly what will allow you to bring on high-paying, long-term committed clients. And if you struggle with the enrollment, obviously that's going to be harder. So it's going to be a key skill to develop and to practice. And I'm going to make it as easy and as clear for you as possible. And then, of course, you'll get lots of practice with your group and others so that you can get good at it and develop it just like any other skill that you would. Great. So again, lots of content. So apologize for not having as much time for questions this time, but we do have about 10 minutes. We can go a little bit over as well if we have additional questions. I'll start with the ones that I have in the question pane, and then afterwards, I'd love to hear some of your voices here. So raise your hand if you have another question beyond what's in the question pane, and I'll open up your line today and hear what you want to ask about anything here designing content. All right, Christine asks, first, how do you narrow formatting in an email? So the way the narrow formatting in an email is basically when you go out a certain number of characters, instead of just letting the lines automatically drop down for you, and you would just press Enter at the wherever you wanted to start the next line. So you'd manually create the line break instead of letting it do it automatically. So if that makes sense, you're basically typing out. I might write, "Hi, Christine," comma, "I want to share something," enter, "with you," period. Gabby, you had a general question here, something you were puzzled with. So why don't you raise your hand here if you still have that question, and I can open up your line and find out exactly what that is. Hold on one sec here. Let me unmute your line. Oh, tricky. Okay, actually, I don't have your phone line for some reason is not available right now. So why don't you actually go ahead and type the question into your question pane, and we'll do it there. And because, there it is. Okay, great. Okay. Great, it should be open. Okay, I've got another question from Rolinda. So Gabby, I'm going to go ahead and open your line here, and you can clarify your question. All right, Gabby, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you, Jacob. Can you hear me?
Great, you're ready to go. Okay, so
okay, dear.
Ask.
Excellent, yeah. Thanks. Hi, everybody. I was a little bit puzzled, Jacob, on when you say to offer subscribers with a full scholarship as an additional value. I don't really understand what you mean by a full scholarship.
Yeah, so basically what you can say is you're assigning a value to your talk or your teleconference or your webinar. So you would say,
okay,
here's the value of this. But as a subscriber, as somebody on my list, you get it for free. So you can say for free, or you can say it's a full scholarship. The scholarship lingo basically conveys it more as an education or a class or something like that.
Okay, got it. All right,
cool.
Thanks.
Great question. Thanks for getting that clarified.
Okay.
All right, and then Rolinda, do you advise a video as a lead-in to invite persons to experience a talk, workshop, or class? I was videoed for one I did for a resort in Michigan, I'm guessing that's Michigan, and wondered the value of this as an enticement to enrollment. Yeah, I mean the most important thing is that you get the offer right, that it's compelling, right? That you clearly answer basically, even in the short little teaser there, why? What are you going to get by what are you going to get by enrolling? And then what are you actually going to cover? And then how, which in this case would be how should this person actually take action? And then tell them very specifically, do this right now. Put your name and email into the form below or to the side here, and press submit. So that's the first thing to get, is make sure that you're clearly communicating what the offer is. After that, you can look at the different ways that you can communicate that, and it could be through text, it could be through the medium of audio, it can be through the medium of video. And out of the three of those, video is the best performer. Again and again, it gets the highest engagement and the highest response. So yeah, video is great, but a video that doesn't have that clear formatting and clearly answer those and speak to all four of those learning styles is going to be less effective than text that does. Sorry about that. And do we have tools for this in business resources? Yes, there are tools for this in the business resources. There are, basically, links. I'll provide links to you for a flip cam. It would be the easiest way to do a video like that. And if you're doing a presentation video, Camtasia or ScreenFlow are great. Again, the way that you would use that is to simply simply create a presentation like a PowerPoint, and then you just record your screen as you're going through that. So you would just be looking at your PowerPoint, flipping through the slides, recording all that, and then your voice would be recorded as you're speaking through that. So Linda, let me go ahead and open your line here and make sure that answered your question.
All right. Yes. Actually, you identified it perfectly, and the experience was really cool, and the person was a professional that did the video, and I really liked it. I wish I would have known all the little tips though from tonight before I did it. But I just wondered. I really enjoyed working with this individual, and so probably not right now because I just invested in a flip cam. But, maybe down the line, I would think that, connecting back with this person and having them do something more professional again would be something I would be interested in and enjoy. And I just kind of wanted to see if you thought that visual enticement, that visual invitation to come to your web, or to your conference or your workshop is worth the time and the effort and the investment, and it sounds like it is.
Yeah, pretty much always. Like I said, you can typically expect a 4 to 7 times greater engagement and response rate. If you basically have a side-by-side the exact same offer, and you have it as static text versus a video, then you can expect a 4 to 7 times increase in engagement and response.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great question. I'm going to go ahead and mute your line here again. Great. And any other questions anyone has, anything about what we've covered here in terms of designing content, the different sorts of content, how to create it, how to structure it, any questions about naming, any questions about the homework? And if so, again, you can just press the little the hand icon. I'll see your hand go up, and I can open your line here. Hey there, Gabby. Hi, Gabby. Gabby, I opened your line. I saw your hand go up.
Sorry, Jacob, I just put my hand down because it was still up from our previous. So
okay.
I'm good. Thanks, dear.
All right, excellent. Okay, any last questions? If not, we're right about time here to wrap it up. We've gone our full time here today, which is great. And you'll probably have additional questions, and again, I encourage you to ask them so that we can get as much clarity as you need on any of these points. And again, next week we'll do enrollment, and then after that we'll have a chance to really do a deep dive with where you're at with everything, get everybody up to speed, and really focus on these last 3 areas of building your program, building your theory of change, building your content, and then practicing your actual enrollment and fitting this all together, which is collectively really step 2 and step 3 of the Grow Your Ayurvedic Business System, building your program and then building your system. And then after that, when all that is good, isn't in place, and you've got at least the skeleton structure that you can build on from there, you're ready to open up the floodgates. You're ready to, there's nothing else really in the way. The foundation is built, the house is built, it's time to invite people in. So we're right at this transition point. Think Agni, think crossing over a threshold here. An exciting time. So great, have a great couple of weeks. Oh, we've got one last question here. Go ahead and get that real quick. Yeah, perfect, Michelle. Exactly. Thank you very much. You need to get working on all of this now that the wedding planning is over. Exactly. So it's time to go out there and actually marry your market, have some action. Beautiful. Well said. You all have an excellent week. Love you all. Send you all of my support. I'm with you through this process. And your mastermind group is there as well. Use each other well. That's really valuable time. Make sure that you dig in and continue to take action and implement. Nothing happens without that, and so get what you need to go forward. All right.